All right, greetings. My name is Big But Bright. And before you do anything at all, do me a favor. Today, we are going to look at how to use wildcards in Linux for data extraction. So, quickly, I'm sharing my screen already. So, let me try and see if I can pull up. Yeah, this is my Linux terminal. If you've been following my tutorial, you should be familiar with this color. Just trying to kill up the light on my keyboard. Yeah. So you want to look at how to be able to use wildcards. So I'm just going to clear my screen like I have it here and just enter as much as I can. And then let's see what is a wildcard. Is simply a symbol or should I say a character, or it can be a set of characters that allows you to be able to extract a certain pattern or that uses certain pattern to extract the data from either a file or a folder or something. So let's try. I've put together some, what is it? What are the, some few things here, and then we would like to look at it. And so these are some of the wildcards. So before I go straight to the wildcards and then we have a clearer look at what they are, uh, I would encourage you to bear with me so that I will do something small on. Okay, yeah. So then it's fine. So I was listening to somebody. I'm sorry about that. So let's look at wildcards. So first of all, we have one called the what is this one? That's the star. The star simply means that lists out all the files. You are simply just going to list all. So it means that when you have star after star, anything after the star, you are saying that bring everything. A, we are saying that A star means anything that starts with A followed by and then or anything that begins with A, you know, what is it? Then that's it. If you also have a docs text like this, it means any file that begins with the letter A and ends with a text. It's not that it ends with a text, but it ends with txt. So it means if you want to search for a pattern and you don't know, then you know that yeah, it's actually start with A, but and then it ends with txt, but you don't know what is in the middle. You just put this, and then that's all. So it's just going to pick that for you. Then we also have when it starts with this, it can start with a certain number of characters like list, followed by exactly two characters. The question mark means any character at all. If there are two, it means two of them. And then this means that we are looking for any file that begin with either A or B or C, and then followed by any number of characters. And with the number of characters you can think about. This one, we are looking for any file that whose name is starting with an uppercase letter. It can be any uppercase. And then here is the opposite, any file that does not begin with a numeral. So it will just list out all the file that is not beginning with a numeral. We also have any file that begins from A to D. You can actually specify from A to like Z or anything, and followed by exactly one character. You see? So any file that begins from a range of A to D and followed by exactly one character. And then here it starts with A, capital A, followed by two characters and ending with F. So, I mean, we can begin to manipulate them and change them any way at all we want for our understanding. So let's get back to the terminal and then look at something. So if I list here, we have this set of files which are here. Okay, so let's assume that I want us to go and look at something in my desktop. And this is part of the tutorial. So my desktop, I want to list something in my desktop. And then I want to go and look at my Excel, what is it? Or let me start with where I am. So I am going to list a file here. Oh, no, I'm going to list a folder here, which is called IVFF. So there's nothing in that folder. So let's say I want to list FG. There's also nothing in that folder. So I won't be able to apply any of the wildcards here. But let's see if I cut any of the files. Let's say file 1. Remember, file 1, there's nothing. So let me cut file 2 and see. So file 2, there are things there. So let's see if we can apply any of the wildcards and see what will happen. So I am going to cut so file 2, right? File 2, and then inside that particular file 2, I think the command should come first. File, so I am cutting star anything in file 2 that ends with Z and then E. So I will say star. So it's going to list out anything that is ending. So cut no search file. So there was no search file. So it decided to end, but there was actually one here. I'm sure the code is wrong. That is why it ended like that. So maybe let me try once more and see. Followed by exactly. So maybe what about if I just say E? I'm looking for anything that ends with E. They are also saying that there was no search file. So you know why we are getting this wrong? Because we are trying to print the content of a file, not to list the file. So it doesn't see these things as files, and that is why it is not listing any of them. So if we want to pick any of this, the content of a file, you don't use the wildcards to be able to do that. You use grep, because grep actually identify patterns. But for wildcards, it actually picks out files. And so that is the difference. And I'm happy that what we brought this thing out. So now what we can do, let me clear my screen. We should go and have a folder and begin to use a wildcard to see how we can list the folder. I have some folders on my desktop. So I'm simply going to say that. So I want to list my desktop. And if you've been following my tutorial, I don't have to go back CD and go back all the way. No, I'm going to list so I would say ls. So if I go back, it means I'm not listing IVF. So if I say stroke ls, I'm not listing what? My desktop. But inside my desktop, there is a file called Excel. So it simply goes to the Excel. And then I now want to list. So here, I'm going to list files. So I can now use the wildcard. I can say star, and then I'll say dot CSV. So I want to go to my Excel and then list all the files that ends with .csv. So when I do that, you can see that it brings out all files that ends with .csv. I think so we can use the same thing and say that we want any file that ends with I don't know how the Excel files are. So let me list first and see. The Excel extension is ending with something like this. Yep. And so just go to do that, and then I'll come here and say anything that ends with this one. So it's going to list only the Excel files and leave the CSV files. So these are the what are the Excel files which are found in that particular directory. These are some of the ways we can use the wildcards to be able to do that. So when you do star, it tells you that anything that ends with dot, it doesn't necessarily mean that anything that ends with dot. It can also be, for instance, we could have said that we want any file that ends with CSV without it will still list all of them. It will still list all of them. The dot doesn't really mean anything. It means that after the dot, anything that is ending with CSV, then it will simply pick that particular pattern. Remember, we use star as a wildcard to print out files that has an ending of a particular ending. You can't use it to be able to identify a file using the middle part of the file. No, it won't work that way. For instance, this is what I mean. Or let me clear my screen. This is what I mean. I cannot say here and then let me look at something here. So let's say I cannot come and say most here and expect this particular file to be printed. No, it will not print. So let's say something that is ending with MOST. What is it? You see that you can't find any of such files because. So the emphasis I'm making here is that wildcards, especially the star, is used for the last part of the file name, to be able to identify the file. Okay. So now let's go to the next one. These videos. So we have any file that begins with the letter A. So we go and then we check that. So we go quickly and check that. So I'm simply going up here coming to my Excel folder, and I'm saying that I'm looking for any file that ends with, or that begins with capital A. I don't know if I have, so you put A and you add your star to it. So it will simply print out. It's only one. So as you can see, the African population.csv, that's the only file that begins with uppercase A. What about if we have, if you wanted to try to see, yeah, it will print the same thing. If I have here, let's say capital B, I'm not too sure we have. There's no such file. You can see the response say there's no such file. So these are the ways we can also use the star with a specific what a pattern to be able to do that. You can always modify this to get exactly what you want. Now let's look at so we want any file that begins with a particular character and then ends with a particular set of characters. So let's get back to my, and then let's look at something. So if I go back here, if I take this out and I do this, I'm going to have this. So let's say that I want this particular file. It starts with capital. So I want this particular file. I want to print this file out. I want to select only that file. So what I'm going to simply do is that I'm saying that it's starting with capital or uppercase M. And then let me look at the pattern once more. So it's starting with what is, and then ending with something. So let's check it and see how. So it's starting with M, and then you put star. Star means an array of characters, but it is ending with. So what is it ending with? It is ending with CSV. So let's say CSV. We want to print that file and any other file that is in that. So you see that it select only that particular file and then print it for us. These are the various ways that you can do to be able to set your pattern. And so let's move a bit further and then check something again. So we also have lists, and then a file that begins with list followed by 2 characters exactly. So here, let's get back to here and then check something. I have this particular file here, ab or abel.csv. So I want to print only that particular file out. So I'm coming here to do this, and I'm saying that, okay, abel. So we want any file that is starting with abel. So abel dots, and then what is the pattern saying? Let me look at the pattern once more. And then it's ending with exactly 2 characters. So it's ending with exactly 2 characters. So here we have already put the dot, which is a character. But if we didn't put the dot, we can say that, okay, we are looking for any file that begins with abel and then ending with how many characters? Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll put 4 question marks, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then when we do that, what is it? It tries to print a particular what is it, file. I'm not too sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, abel. Oh, okay, I rather spell able. I'm sorry, I made that mistake. So it's actually abel, not. So it's this way, and then followed by this. So it should print that particular file. So as you can see, it has printed the file here. And so that is how we are able to use the wildcards to select exactly what we are looking for. And so what is the next wildcard? This one. Any file that begins with either A or B or C and end with all sort of what the characters we can think about. So let's go back to the studio and check something. So I'm coming here and I'm going to look for a file that either starts with A or B or C. And so that way you have to use a square bracket, A, B, C, and then you close your square bracket and say, and it's ending with, let's say, star. So star means any number of characters. When you do that, it retains just 2. So it will retain just 2 of them. So these are the 2 files that start with A. We can see here, this one to also start with C. And then, so we could have actually say A, B, C, D, E, and then in that order. For instance, we could have added here A, B, C, D, E. It doesn't have to be in order. So you see that it prints all of them. It could have also said, we have here uh, actually either B, D, and then like something like this. So it will still bring out. It doesn't have to be in order. You are just saying that find out any file that starts with this and then end with any character. It will still give you out, and then in that order. So let's look at the last part of the wildcards which are used. This one, we are simply looking for any file that starts with an uppercase letter. And so, what is it? So if I'm looking inside my Excel, and I want a file that starts with an uppercase letter, so I have two of this, and then you simply just spell upper, and then perhaps you close it with another column, and then close it with this. So we're looking for any uppercase. So we notice that I don't know. There's no such file. They are still telling me that there's no such file or directory. So let me check the pattern again if I'm not making any mistake. So yeah, I'm not making any mistake. So that's how it's supposed to be. And so we haven't found. So this one, we are looking for any file that is not beginning with, and then in that order. So the last one is we have from A to D, and then followed by exactly one character. Followed by exactly one character. We may not find one, but let's see. Let's try and see. So here, I am going all the way to this, and I'm saying that, so let's check for, what is it? A character or any file that begins with A all the way to, let's say, H. And then, so that's, and then it is ending with only one character. So we put what? A question mark, and then C. There's no such file. But if we had changed it to something like this, we will see quite a number, and then that is it. So these wildcards, what they do is it allows you to be able to identify your files by using a particular pattern to just extract them. So if you check in this, there's a difference between the wildcards, then grep and cat. Let me put that here. For cats, you are trying to isolate or to extract a column or a field. In Linux, it's called a field. You are trying to extract a field. In grep, you are trying to, and then when it comes to wildcards, you are trying to also identify files, but not like identifying either a field or a row. You are just trying to identify the file name. So get the distinction here correctly. When it comes to identifying a file or listing out a file, use wildcards, the wildcards to be able to do that. Within a file, if you want to extract a column, a field, you use the cat function. And then if within the file you want to extract rows, you use the grep. So this is how we distinguish them. Wildcards to cat function, then to grep, and then you are good to go. So, I mean, this is just the easiest way that I can possibly let you understand this. I think because of my, what is it, my picture. So let me go up a bit. So this is how we are able to do it. For instance, if I have a number of files. So let me just demonstrate what I've just said right now. You see that here I was just listing, I was just trying to list number of files. So that's why I'm using wildcards, combining them at different ways. But let's assume that I have a file and I now want to extract a particular information from that particular file. For instance, um, if I should cut one of the files here, let's say file 3. So if I cut it, you can see that I have a number of things which are here. You see? So if I want to extract only the first day, and the last part, it means that I am extracting one field. So all I need to do is to use the cat command. Okay, so I'll simply say cat here, and then cat, you always follow by a delimiter. Here, the file is a text file. So the delimiter is separated by, it's not separated by commas, it's separated by space. So I'll simply do this. I don't know if, and then which particular field. So I'll say dash F. If it is the first one, I'll say 1. And so which file is that? I am looking at this in which file? In file 3. In file 3. So when I do that, you see, if I do that, it tries to print almost everything there. I thought that maybe I should have left a space here, if I'm not mistaken, and then do this. Yes, that's what I should have done. So you can see that it prints only the first column, and that's what cat does. Cat there, it will simply print the first column. If we wanted to print the second column, we would have. So what it does here is that the delimiter is space. So it will take the first words as one column. The second words that are following each sentence, it will collect all of them as one column, and that's what it does. So if I come here and I decide to change this to 2, so you notice that that is going to give me what are the projects. So you can see there, and then the next thing is what? Project. I think because of my picture, let me clear my screen and run that one again. So you can see that it picks what is it, a project, and then in that order. So that is what we use cat for, to be able to isolate a field. It's different from when you are using wildcard. Wildcards deal with only files, but cat deals with the content of a file, and then that is it. Grep also deals with the content of a file, but it deals with rules. So for instance, and then I have already demonstrated the cat function. So let me try and use the grep, and then you see how that one too works. But before that, let me show you something. If I want to print exactly that column and leaving the rest of the columns, this is what I do. But what about if I want to print from here project, if I want to print from here to the rest and print the other field? So I am beginning from field 2 or column 2 all the way to the rest of the columns on my right hand side. What will I do? I only just need to add dash here. And then when I do that, it prints the rest. That's the difference. That's the difference. If you want exactly the column, you leave this particular dash out. But if you want the rest of the columns from the beginning of that specified field, then you add dash to the number that you have specified for the field. Now with grep, if I were using a grep here, grep there, it gives you opportunity to pick a pattern. For instance, I'm going to grep here and I'll simply put there. So it will check through the rules and find out. I am using this one and in file 3. And so you see that it will print what? The project title is AMR Genes authored by Drake. So it will simply print that particular line for me. So it will check through the file, and then you can see it is printing this particular line for me. And so that's what grep does. Grep follow the rules and then look at the pattern of the characters you have given, and then it will isolate it, and then it's good to go. So I think that's what I wanted to bring to you. By way of summary, what we have done is to simply use WILDCARDS. And then I said that in the WILDCARDS, we are trying to list files, and we are trying to use a particular pattern to identify, to isolate the specific files we want. So we started by saying ls, and then we go, and then we come here, and then we are going into our Excel, and we are saying that if I do something like this star, and I said I want any file that ends with CSV, they to print all the CSV files which are found within this particular folder, and then that is it. So that's what we use the WILDCARDS for. You can use it in different ways. So I've already shown that. So if you do that, it will print those particular files out. So apart from that, I said don't get confused with using the WILDCARDS with the cat command and then the grep. And I said cat is used to identify field. You use the cat command to be able to identify a field. And so I said if you use cat here, you always follow it by a delimiter. And then here I have a delimiter and then you follow it by the specific field that you want. So if I specify field, this particular field, then I now follow by the file name, which is file 3, and then it will simply print it out. And I'm saying that if you want to print this particular project, this particular field, and the rest of the field, what you simply would do is to come here and add dash to this. So it will print the rest of the field for you, beginning from this field that you specified. It's also different from grep. Grep allow you to be able to follow a pattern. So for instance, I have grep here, and then I'll simply come here and say, let me, whose name did I use again? Okay, let me use my own name here. I don't know if, and so I am grepping my own name from a file called file 3. And so it tells me that a project title Pangenome analysis authored by Bigba. So that is how we use it, all of them. And remember, I've already shown you how to combine cats and then grep to be able to, you identify the field and then you extract whatever information that you want from there, and then you are good to go. So, ladies and gentlemen, that will be the tutorial for this evening, and then I hope you have learned something small. If you enjoy my tutorial, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and then learn more. It's always a pleasure doing this. Thank you very much, and I'll see you some other time. Bye-bye.